Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today been another exciting episode for you, and I'm excited to actually do an unboxing of the Champion 2000 Plus juicer. Now, the current year is 2015, and Champion was born in the USA. I was born in the USA. It was born in the United States of America back in 1955, and actually I know a lot of you guys might not have even been born yet. And since that time, Champion has continued to produce the juicer and build this juicer in the USA. They're the only company in the USA that produces an affordable juicer still in the USA. All the other juicers actually that we sell at Discount Juicers are actually made in foreign countries, right? So if you want to buy American, you're going to want to stick with the Champion. That being said, you know, there's pros and cons to every juicer, and one of the things I really like about the Champion is because it was made in 1955, they've changed the design very little since that time. So that's a pro and a con. The pro is these things are still built like a car that was built in 1955. Like cars in 1955, if you take that up against like, you know, one of those new like little, I don't know, Fiat 500s, right? And crash a 1955 car into the Fiat 500, even with the airbags in the Fiat, you're probably not going to live. and if they had robot wars or juicer wars between like the Champion 2000 Plus juicer and like Plastic Omega juicer, guess what? The Champion's going to win. This thing is heavy duty. It's going to outlast, you know, one of those imported juicers. No problem at all, because this is made out of solid metal. It's actually quite heavy, and the motor is solid. It's a 1/3 horsepower with a stainless steel motor shaft. So yeah, hasn't changed much, still made in the USA. And this is their 60th anniversary, so they're celebrating by giving you guys a better deal. So for a limited time at Discount Juicers, we'll be offering the 60th anniversary model that not only comes with the standard components normally included with the Champion juicer, but it comes with a few additional components that you wouldn't normally get. And this is the 60th anniversary upgrade. It also includes the large hole screen, also the tomato screen, also an upgraded deluxe bowl, and a cleaning brush. So I like that they did this for their 60th anniversary. I just think they should have this package all the time to basically give the customers all the, you know, different items, so you could have the maximum flexibility with the Champion, which is still made in the USA. So in any case, what we're going to do next, actually, we're going to go ahead and do the unboxing and show you guys all the different parts included. We're then going to go ahead and show you guys how to assemble and disassemble the machine. And then actually we're going to have some fun, and we're going to get into some juicing. You know, we're going to juice some carrots, some romaine lettuce, and some celery, and some apples, and share with you guys how the Champion works and what makes it different and superior to many of the other juicers out there. Later in this episode, we're going to go into some of the additional features of the Champion. Specifically, you can homogenize in the Champion, which means you can make things like baby foods and nut butters and, you know, pâtés and sorbets, salsas, even make shave ice with one of the attachments that's already included with the standard Champion setup. And actually, I'm going to be making some frozen banana sorbet, aka many people call it banana ice cream, because it just tastes like ice cream, but it's 100% fruit. And I know that's why you guys are watching this video, because you guys want to make healthy dietary changes in your life, right? And we know that the best foods on the planet, right? Everybody tells you this. Eat more fruits and vegetables. And the Champion is the #1 machine that'll allow you to get, you know, the delicious frozen fruits in you, plus also the vegetables and other fruits in you as well, because it does have multi-purpose features, and it's unlike any other machine on the market. So in any case, without further ado, let's go ahead and unbox this guy, show you guys what's included. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and cut open the box, and we're going to show you guys what's included with the Champion 2000 Plus. This is their latest and greatest model. Now, as I said, you know, Champion has gone through very few revisions. They've kept the main components of the juicer the same, but made small improvements in the machine. One of the things they did, you know, I don't know, a bunch of years ago, is actually they built in a safety switch. So unless the Champion was properly assembled, it will not actually turn on. So go ahead and pull this guy out here. Oh, and the Champion comes in 2 colors. You got black or white, and it's actually packed really nice inside here. And the thing I want to let you guys know is that, if you get the Champion shipped to you in the mail in the full color box, that's all right, because this full color box is fully, tested for UPS shipping. It's packed appropriately. It has nice cardboard packing. Actually they went from styrofoam to a cardboard, so I want to applaud them for that, to be more sustainable on this planet. And I want to always encourage you guys to recycle your cardboard. And then inside the machine, you get a few different parts here. And what we're looking at here is actually the bonus kit, the 60-year bonus kit. You get a nice Champion cleaning brush. So this cleaning brush is instrumental in cleaning the juicing screens. And this is the tomato screen for straining out tomatoes. So if you're canning tomatoes and you just want to remove the seeds, this is the screen you'll need. This is normally available as an option. And then the other thing you're going to get free with the 60th anniversary edition is the large hole screen. So this large hole screen, it's also available usually as a separate added option, and it'll allow about 50% more pulp in the juice. This screen, because the holes are larger, maybe it's even going to add another 50% or 100% more than the fine hole screen that's normally included with the machine. Now this one is designed for tomatoes, but if you like a lot of pulp in your juice, you could definitely use this screen for whatever you want to juice. Alright, so that's the bonus kit. Let's go ahead and unbox the rest of this machine. Alright, next of course we actually have a nice stainless steel strainer here. So, if you don't desire the pulp in your juice, the Champion will provide you with a strainer to take it out. I mean, pulp is a preference thing. Some people like the pulp, some people hate the pulp. There's benefits to the pulp and there's negative things to the pulp. The benefits of the pulp is that there may be additional nutrients attached to the pulp. In addition, I have seen some research that suggests that if you keep the pulp in the juice, it's going to stay fresher longer. Another positive of the pulp in the juice is that now your juice will contain some insoluble fiber, which is the pulp. Now, all juices contain soluble fiber, which actually helps the regulation of the blood sugar, and soluble fiber has many other health benefits in the body that, the soluble fiber is in all juices, because check it out, soluble means dissolves in water. So when you're making the juice, that's all water, so you got the soluble fiber. But yeah, take out the insoluble fiber with the 100% stainless steel screen. I do like that a lot. Let's see, what else you get is a nice Champion 2000 plus booklet. It says the world's finest recipes and operating manual. So, unlike many of the imported juicers that have like broken English manuals, Champion, based in the USA, has perfect English with actually really nice pictures explaining how to use the machine. And in addition, one of the most valuable features of this booklet, instruction booklet, is actually it tells you about different recipes. You can make different fruit juices, mixed fruit and vegetable juices. You can make a berry red drink, that actually sounds quite good, citrus vegetable drink, pineapple vegetable blend, all different kinds of recipes, and not only for juicing, but also for homogenizing. So you can homogenize different kinds of fruits and vegetables. So like, say you can't chew your food anymore, right? You might normally use a blender to blend up stuff, but actually you could put it through the Champion with a blank plate that I'll show you guys in a little bit, and basically just grind up your salad greens into a mush so that you will get better assimilation. And check it out, the Champion works on a true masticating process. So masticate means to chew, and when you eat your food, you should actually be chewing up your food into a mush. That's why we have teeth, and that's why we give baby food to babies, because they don't have teeth and it's already mushed up. So the Champion immolates and chews and rips up whatever you put in there so that it'll be easily and more digested by you. Now that being said, I still encourage you guys to, whatever comes out of the Champion, put it in your mouth, pretend to chew it, even if you can't, gum it if you don't have teeth. But mix it with your salivary amylase, which is your saliva, which will help start the digestion process. So yeah, homogenizing, it also goes over, homogenizing recipes like making your own fresh nut butters. They have a recipe for actually coconut milk, many recipes for sauces and purees, also for making pâtés, sorbets, sherbets, all kinds of cool stuff in here. So yeah, the possibilities are endless with the Champion juicer. So yeah, let's go ahead and pull out the next part here. All right, the next part is wrapped up in some paper here, so let's see what we got. All right, so we have the plastic funnel, and then we have the blank plate. So this is the blank plate. So normally when you put in a juicing screen in the Champion, what happens is the produce or the item that you put in is basically ground up, chewed up, you know, masticated, and it releases the juice. The juice falls out the bottom, and the pulp comes out the front of the machine. With the blank plate, the juice can no longer fall out the bottom, so the juice and the pulp are all mixed together and then come out the front of the machine. You know, in the case of frozen fruit sorbets, it just basically gets ground up and fluffed up, and then it comes out of the front of the machine like frozen yogurt. But once again, it's 100% fruit. All right, next let's go ahead and see what else we got. Okay, and hit this part right here. Looks like we got the plastic pusher. So this pusher is very important. Don't lose this part. Don't stick anything into the Champion juicer except this pusher and the produce or the items that you are processing. Very important. Don't stick any knives, forks. Oh, something's stuck in there. I could push it in. Don't do it. Only use this pusher. This pusher is specially designed so that it will not actually run into and contact the blade. Also, it makes a nice, secure, tight fit down the feed chute of the Champion to ensure all your produce gets fed in properly. All right, let's go ahead and see what else we got in here. All right, we got the deluxe plastic bowl, collection bowl, that goes up to 4 cups. So I like that they made this clear. The previous incarnation of this bowl was like a translucent color, wasn't quite as nice. This one's clear, and it's the Bpa-Free, and it is also actually made in the USA. So I really like that Champion's taking it to the next level to even ensure that some of the components and different accessories that come with the machines are also made in the USA, just like the juicer here. All right, so now we got the last part, the juicer. Let me see if I can get this out here. This thing is a little bit heavy. This is probably not the #1 juicer you're gonna wanna use if you're traveling, because it's actually quite heavy. I've been known to take my juicer with me on the airplane, in my carry-on bag, nonetheless. And let's go ahead and move that box out. And here it is. It's all wrapped really nicely so that you know, the paint does not get marred up. You know, unlike many other juicers on the market that have plastic housings, I don't think any really have metal housings anymore. The Champion has a full metal housing and is still, you know, hand painted one at a time in Lodi, California. And you know, this may change pretty soon due to new EPA laws and whatnot. But at present time, you can still get this model with the metal housing. So get them while you can, because you know, I have some insider news that may be changing actually quite soon. And here it is. We got a nice black Champion juicer. Now it comes in the black and the white, you know, and the preference is whatever will match in your kitchen. You know, if you got the stainless steel, you might want to get the black one. If you got, you know, a white kitchen, you might want to get the white one. And if you don't really care, I'd encourage you guys to get the black one actually, because it's going to hide, you know, the nice carotenoid stains a little bit better. But yeah, here it is, still made in the USA, General Electric motor here, multiple patents in the USA, Canada, Mexico, Japan even. It's 115 volts, 60 hertz, 1/3 horsepower, 1,725 RPMs or revolutions per minute. So yeah. Let me go ahead and show you guys the main body of this machine. It comes pre-assembled. Now it's pre-assembled upside down. This is not the way you're going to use it. They just do this so that it'll fit in the box. And we're going to simply just rotate this guy off. And it comes off. And as you guys can see, this is the heart of the Champion juicer. This is the cutting blade, and it just slides right off. Now they do use a food grade lubricant on the motor shaft when they do send it to you. You know, and after this food grade lubricant wears off, Champion does, and I encourage you guys to lube up your shaft before every use. I like to use coconut oil on my shaft. You could also use olive oil, you know, some other kind of cooking oil. You know, some cooking oils tend to gum up a little bit, so that's why I like the coconut oil. But yeah, you're just going to want to put a little bit of coconut oil on this shaft so that you don't get the dreaded stuck cutting blade. You know, what happens is when you're juicing, some of the liquid's bound to seep between here and get down in this cutting blade, and basically, you know, it's gonna get the cutting blade stuck on there. And I've gotten so many emails over the years, John, my cutting blade's stuck on my Champion. You know, what can I do? Well, Champion suggests you take a screwdriver and try to pry it off, but that's still not very good because you could damage some of the components of the Champion. So the easier thing to do is prevent this from occurring by lubing your shaft up, you know, before every use. So yeah, this is the cutting blade, and as you guys can see, this is like saw-like teeth. I wonder if I could take it outside and like saw a tree down with it. But yeah, these saw-like teeth are what really get in there to grind up, you know, the produce that you're putting in. And Champion says that this allows for maximum nutrients to be released out of the fibrous cell walls that you're processing. So yeah, so this is unlike any other juicer, and the sad thing is this is a true masticating because it's literally grinding and chewing up the produce at 1,725 RPMs, which is slower than a centrifugal juicer, but faster than the single auger machines, which, you know, unfortunately term themselves as masticating. And this has been one of my pet peeves for a long time, is that a lot of other juicers call themselves masticating, but they're not masticating. The only masticating unit on the market is the Champion juicer. Other juicers may be calling themselves masticating, but they're masquerading as masticating because they're not the same as the Champion. They are single augers or slow juicers or cold press juicers, which in my opinion are different than the Champion. So I want them to get that straight. So how this works is we got this fast spinning blade here, and luckily, even if this is plugged in and turned on, this blade will not spin unless you actually have this housing attached properly. And one of the next things I want to say is that the parts on the Champion are BPA-free. These are nylon components, and even cooler than that is this component is nylon, but unlike other juicers that have plastic parts on the inside and the outside, this is plastic on the outside, but I want you guys to look in there. You guys see that in there? Look very carefully. Inside here, it's all stainless steel lined. You guys see that? 100% stainless steel lined. I wish they'd do that with all juicers so you had, you know, minimal plastic contact, you know, of the produce you're putting in this day and age. You know, many people are concerned with plastic, and the Champion, you know, even after all these years, is still lined with 100% food grade stainless steel to reduce and minimize the plastic contamination, you know, that may be present in your juice. So yeah, the easiest way to assemble this actually is to actually set it on top of the table upside down. We're going to go ahead and put the funnel on the top there so we have actually a nice stable base. So now I'm going to show you guys the screens included with this 60th anniversary model. Normally you only get 2 screens, but for a limited time, if you buy through discount juicers, you'll get all 4 screens. So these are the 4 screens right here, and we'll start at this side. This is the blank plate. So the blank plate is 100% solid, does not let any juice through, and everything comes out the front of the housing there. Next we have the small hole screen. So this has the small holes, and this is normally included with the Champion. This is what most people use for juicing. It's going to let out, you know, minimal pulp into the juice. The next one is we actually have the large hole screen right here, and the large hole screen has you know, larger holes. It lets about 50% more pulp into the juice. Of course, that depends on what you're juicing. And then finally, we have the extra large screen, red, and this is actually made for removing the seeds if you are canning tomatoes, although this could be used for any other task that you would like when you desire more pulp in the juice. So yeah, all 4 screens, and once again, I think it's just really cool they're including all of them with the 60th anniversary edition. So anyways, to assemble the machine, we're going to go ahead and get that small hole screen, put it right on there, sits in place, and then we're going to go ahead and get this piece, which is a screen holder. So the screen holder is very important because if you're doing it like right side up, it's very difficult to do that. Maybe if you've owned your Champion for 10 years, you could do that finally. I still like to put this Champion upside down to build it. And then we're going to go ahead and go to this end that has this little outcropping here. And what this outcropping is, if you look in there, that's a little magnet. So what this magnet does when the magnet's lined up properly, it'll let the machine turn on, and if it's not lined up properly, it will not let the machine turn on. So this is a safety feature. You know, I have seen on rare instance, you know, especially on older machines, it doesn't seem to happen with the new machines, that the magnet will fall out and somebody will turn on their Champion, it just won't work. And actually this happened to me back in the olden days. And my magnet was missing, it was just a hole in here. I had to like, oh, there's the magnet, I put it back in there and put some hot glue, and then it worked again, right? So yeah, and then they also have this this plate here to prevent you from sticking your fingers up in, you know, to the spinning blades. So yeah, once you do that, you just slide this guy on, slides in super simple, super easy, and you know, now we're all ready and assembled. So the thing to do is you just take this whole assembly here and put it right on the machine and just slide it and lock it into place. I mean, that is how easy the Champion is to assemble. This is one of the easiest machines to assemble and disassemble and clean for that matter, because all the parts are stainless steel lined. Literally just running it under the sink with the hot water on, all the pulp and juice just melt off the stainless steel, you know, down the drain. And of course now with the handy dandy cleaning brush, you could get into the tight spots and clean the screen. Super simple, super easy. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and plug this guy in and show you guys how loud this Champion juicer is, you know, just running without putting any produce through it. Alright, so now I got the Champion all plugged in, and normally what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take your collection cup and put that right underneath the machine. If you don't want to use the BPA-free plastic cup that is included, you can get like a Pyrex, you know, quart measuring container that looks very similar to this, and put that right underneath. And what you will also need to provide is basically a bowl to catch the pulp that's going to come out the front of the machine. And once you do that, you're ready to go. You could turn your machine on, and this is what it sounds like. This is a nice solid sounding machine. I mean, this is heavy duty. The blade is running in there at 1,725 RPMs. It definitely doesn't sound like one of those high-speed juicers that can run as fast as 15,000 RPMs, which is almost, I don't know, 9 times more than the Champion. So in general, you know, I recommend a lower RPM machine. With the higher RPMs, you get higher levels of oxidation, which means less nutrition in the juice. You know, the other thing I want to talk about really quick is what we're looking at here is the commercial model today. The Champion company makes a commercial and a household model. And here's the main difference. The main difference is the commercial model is more heavy duty. It can operate for longer sustained periods of time. It's also more powerful and has more torque. Now, although it is called the commercial juicer, it does not have NSF sanitation certification. So legally, you know, if your health department requires NSF required commercial machine, the Champion, you know, in my opinion, should not be used because it does not meet health code, you know, requirements. You know, but there's plenty of restaurants and places that are using the commercial Champion, you know, where the health department is maybe not as picky or does not require the NSF certification on the juicers. All right, so with that, what we're going to go get into next is actually we're going to get into juicing. So let me come back at you with a whole bunch of produce pre-prepared, ready to juice in the Champion 2000 Plus commercial juicer. So now I'm all ready and have my produce prepared. Today we're going to be juicing some romaine lettuce, some celery that I have pre-cut, because if you put stalks that are too long through the Champion, the celery strings will get caught up in the blade, as well as some heirloom colorful carrots. We got carrots in like purple and yellow and just some standard orange ones too. Now, while I am juicing a green juice today, or a vegetable juice, the Champion will also juice fruits. It actually does a fairly good job. So like if you want to juice like watermelon, it's probably like one of the best juicers out there for watermelon, because watermelon, it's all water, and the Champion literally just turns that watermelon into a delicious juice with actually very little pulp. You know, now the Champion is best for the hard vegetables and the fruits. It doesn't necessarily handle the leafy greens all too well. So if you're like, John, I want to juice like tons of leafy greens, well, maybe the Champion's not for you. But if you're like, John, I want to juice lots of like hard vegetables like, you know, carrots and beets and celery and some cucumbers, with some leafy greens, then the Champion is totally appropriate. Likewise with the fruits, it's going to juice fruits fairly well. It's going to leave a little bit wetter pulp with some of the fruits, but it's going to juice them just fine. And another cool thing about the Champion, unlike many other juicers on the market, you could always take the pulp that comes out of the machine and then feed it back to the Champion a second, a third, a fourth time to get further extraction from whatever you're juicing. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and just show you guys how easy it is to juice in the Champion. One of the main things is on the Champion is that you want to use, a constant and steady pressure when juicing in the Champion. If you juice too slow, it may heat up a little bit, so you want to go, constant pressure and, feed it the right, an appropriate amounts at the right time, and just feed it through and keep going until you're done. So what I recommend you guys do is pull the produce out of the fridge, prepare it, have it all ready like I have it here, and then in one fall swoop you're going to juice all of it and then be done. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do next. We're going to go ahead and turn this guy on and start juicing the carrots right through there. Look at that, instantly some juice. This is one quick juicer. It's not as fast as the high-speed centrifugal ejection machines, but it's much faster, than the single auger slow machines. Let's go ahead and put some celery through there. Now, what I'm feeling right now is some resistance on this pusher, and if I look my head down into the feed chute, I am seeing some pulp that's like trying to work its way back up, at me. This is completely normal, so do not be alarmed. Just continue to, push the produce items in, and it'll continue to juice for you. Now check this out. You can't do this on one of those slow juicers with a small feed chute. I can take this full romaine heart. We're just going to crunch it up, and we're just going to put it down this feed chute in one fall swoop, right? This has a nice large feed chute where you can feed in even a whole bunch of romaine like you just saw me do. Once we got it in there, we're just going to go ahead and use the pusher to push it right through. As you guys can see, the Champion's super strong. It's not backing up. This housing is getting a tiny bit warm, but we're going to go ahead and, once again, just continue to juice at a nice, moderate pace. Another thing I really like to do is I like to, mix up the produce items. So you guys can see I'm rotating the different produce items that I'm putting through. I like to do like some celery, then a carrot, romaine and a carrot, celery and a carrot. You follow everything by a carrot, you're going to be A-okay in the Champion. As you guys can see, the green pulp is coming out. This is the pulp from the romaine and the celery, and amazingly, the Champion is getting a fairly dry pulp here. Go ahead and put some more celery in there, followed by yellow carrot. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and continue juicing. We'll be back at you when I'm just about done. Alright, so I'm almost done juicing in the Champion juicer. I'm continuing to push the thing down, and look, it just kind of rises up. This is totally normal. I just like to go up and down a little bit, try to get everything worked through. Looks like our collection cup is a little bit full, so we're going to go ahead and stop. I had actually just a few pieces of celery and a few carrots left. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and check out the pulp here. So the pulp that's coming out, some of it was actually getting a little bit warm in the juicing. But don't be concerned if your pulp is a little bit warm. The pulp shouldn't get above 118 degrees, which is where the enzymes start to degrade. The other thing I'm noticing is if we look at the juice here, there's actually a fair bit of foam on the juice, and that's just the way the Champion works. We're going to go ahead and put this container to catch any kind of drips. And so the foam is just basically aerated juice. And I'm not a big, super huge fan of foam, so we're going to go ahead and take a strainer and strain off the juice. We made approximately almost 4 cups of juice with the Champion, with maybe about, another cup of head on there. And we're going to go ahead and pour this through the strainer here very carefully. And you're going to get to see how much pulp is actually in the juice that comes out of the Champion commercial juicer. Alright, so we got all the foam out. And now we're going to go ahead and shake this guy down, get all the additional juice out. Alright, so yeah, just by straining we removed most of the foam. And you know, there is a fair bit of pulp in there. You guys can't see it, it's pretty much blocked up by the foam. But yeah, there's definitely some pulp in there. This is not major big deal. You can just drink that if it doesn't bother you. And I strained it out. Let's see, let's go ahead and put that over there. So as you guys can see, we got just about, I don't know, almost 4 cups of juice, maybe 3.75 cups of juice so far. So there wasn't a lot of pulp in there. I'm going to go ahead and try this juice for you guys. Now, despite the straining, I do taste some fine particulate in there. Now, I use more of a coarse sieve today, and the sieve that comes with the Champion is a smaller sieve, so if you sieve it with the strainer that would come with the Champion, you know, you actually have less pulp in the juice. So yeah, the juice tastes good to me, and this is how the Champion works. You know, once again, you're going to want to just keep pushing stuff through at a nice and constant pace. And even so, you know, this housing did get a little bit warm to the touch. You know, unlike other slow juicers, you know, or the high-speed juicers that I haven't detected heat from, the Champion I do detect a little bit of heat. But once again, that shouldn't really negatively affect your juice in any large way. So what I'm going to do next, actually, I'm going to go ahead and sit down and drink my juice, and then we're going to be back at you to show you guys my favorite thing to do with the Champion juicer in the whole wide world, and it's my favorite juicer in the whole wide world to make the frozen banana sorbet, aka banana ice cream. So that juice was absolutely amazing. Now I'm ready for dessert. Now this is my favorite dessert in the whole wide world, and the Champion juicer makes it the best. You know, what I'm going to demonstrate to you guys now is what I call banana ice cream. You know, some people might call it banana whip or whatever, but this is like truly a banana ice cream, or like a soft serve yogurt consistency. And I know you guys could make this recipe in like a Vitamix, or you know, with the food processor or other ways, but that tends to oxidize it more and you don't get the same consistency. And other juicers that will do this function do not do it as well as a Champion, right? The Champion actually fluffs it up because when it's homogenizing using its 1,725 RPMs in the blade and those saw-like teeth, it literally cuts up the banana, whips it up, and then gives it to you straight up. And it is so delicious. I mean, there's other machines that have tried to duplicate what the Champion does, and none have succeeded, in my opinion, because the Champion makes the best consistency. And if you guys are chefs, you guys know what I'm talking about. So what we're going to have to do first, before we even do this, is we're going to have to change out the juicing screen. And how we do that is I'll just go ahead and move this around and actually just put this on backwards, upside down. And we'll just go ahead and slide off the screen holder. We're going to go ahead and take out the small hole juicing screen that you guys saw me use to juice. And we're going to go ahead and put in the blank plate. So this is the difference. The blank plate basically just homogenizes everything and causes it to come right through. You can also use this to process, you know, things like coleslaw, and to make baby food, to make like a ground up salad, you know, pre-chewed by the juicer, of course. And that would go in there, and then you'd slide this baby on. But the other thing you can do is actually you could use a Champion as a grater. Just slide this on without a screen in place. And then now anything you put in will just grate and come out the bottom. So this is great for making your own snow cones. You know, if you want more of a texture, if you put the screen, the blank plate in, it makes it, you know, much finer, you know, homogenized texture. So that's what we're going to do. Got the blank plate in there. Now we're going to go ahead and spin this guy around. And we're all ready to homogenize. Now before I get into this, you know, using this for the frozen fruit is one idea you can do. You could also use it for frozen vegetables on a hot day if you're not into eating fruit, although fruit is so delicious, and I want to encourage you guys to eat fresh fruit. Fresh fruit is far better, you know, than any kind of processed food, ice cream, or, you know, soda or candy bar or whatever, right? We want to get back to doing better in our diets. You know, fruit and vegetables, they're the best. And any way you could get more of those into you and basically reduce the amount of other foods that are not as healthy is a big benefit to you, and the Champion allows you to do that. Now, likewise, one of the stories that I want to share with you guys right now is actually, my parents' dog, Gina, who was a Shepherd Husky mix. She was beautiful. She actually came down with cancer, and since my parents know that I'm into eating healthy, they're like, John, what do we do for the dog's cancer? And so I said, well, you need to start feeding Gina some of the vegetables, especially the cruciferous vegetables. And so what I did was I bought them a Champion juicer, and I gave it to them, and I said, okay, Mom, Dad, take like broccoli and cauliflower and run that through the Champion with the blank plate to make like a nice mush, and then feed that to the dog. And because the dogs are like, they got canines, and people say they're meat eaters, but actually they're omnivorous. They could eat plants and meats and stuff, and the meats actually are probably not the healthiest thing, especially all the meats with the additives these days. So anyways, I got Gina on a plant-based diet, which is processed through the Champion, because dogs, they don't chew enough, in my opinion. Meat, they could rip up and swallow chunks whole, and they could digest that, but they're not really set up to digest the vegetables. So with the Champion, Gina was able to get more vegetables in her, and although she had 6 months to live by the doctors, the vet, she lived for 2 more years after my parents were using the Champion and feeding her, with the food after it's been processed coming out. And in addition, besides just the food that would come out fresh that they would feed the dog, they would take some of this and then dehydrate it in an Excalibur dehydrator at low temperature to make, raw plant-based dog treats for the dog that actually Gina loved as well, because they're just some kind of treat and some kind of crunchy thing, right? And so that was really cool. And I mean, I'm not saying this is going to work for you if you're a human and have cancer. I'm just relating to you the experience with Gina and how she was able to live longer. Until one day, it was really sad. I got a phone call. John, we do more work in the kitchen for the dog than for us, because my parents really don't prepare food. They're like most people, right? They just buy like packaged stuff they could reheat and all this stuff, And they're like, we do more prep in the kitchen, than for the dog than for us, so we're just going to stop doing it, and we're going to go ahead and feed the cancer dog food that the vet recommends to Gina. And then of course, after my parents stopped doing the right diet for Gina and went back on the cancer, canned dog food, which is a highly processed food, which I'm not a big fan of, Gina had only 6 months left to live, on that diet, because she wasn't getting the anti-cancer nutrition in the fruits and the vegetables that my parents were preparing for her in the most digestible format. And I mean, that's the true power of the Champion. In any case, without further ado, I'm hungry for dessert, so let's go ahead and show you guys how to do this. So the first thing you're going to need is some fresh fruit. So I have some ripe bananas here. So to make this recipe, all you're going to need to do is you're going to take a ripe banana and you're going to peel it. And you want to do this a day ahead of time, because you're not just going to put this right through the Champion. What you will be doing is you're going to go ahead and take a Ziploc bag, and you're going to go ahead and take a Ziploc bag and put that fresh banana into the Ziploc bag. And then you're going to put this in your freezer like overnight. And then overnight, guess what's going to happen? The banana is going to freeze, and once it freezes, then it's going to look like this. We got frozen bananas, and this is what you're going to turn into the delicious frozen fruit sorbet, aka ice cream, in the Champion juicer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and throw that banana in there, turn the Champion juicer on, and simply just push this in. Alright, let's go ahead and put another banana in there. Alright, you guys can see, check it out the front here, we're getting a banana whip consistency. Now, if you think bananas kind of get boring, bananas are like a vanilla, like a really neutral flavor. You can flavor it any way you want. So you can use other berries, strawberries, frozen raspberries, any kind of berry. So what I have today is actually some frozen blueberries. I got them when they were on sale, organic, and I put them in my freezer to freeze them. And we're just going to go ahead and pour some frozen blueberries in there. And then once I put the blueberries in, I want to mix it with the banana, so I'm going to go ahead and put another piece of banana in there. and work this right through the Champion really simply and easily. And check it out, as you guys can see, the mixture is now coming out purple. I want to encourage you guys to eat your fruits of color. You know, they're higher in antioxidants than just simply plain bananas. And check it out, that's how easy it is to make frozen fruit sorbet in the Champion. Now, I encourage you guys always to, you know, freeze your own fresh fruits, you know, to have the ripest quality, and freeze them yourself. But of course, if you can't do that, you could always go to the store. Trader Joe's is really good. They have some of the lowest prices on frozen fruits. You could buy things like frozen pineapple, frozen mango, and even frozen figs. Those are the bomb. You could put those in the Champion, have instant fig ice cream, or mango ice cream, or pineapple ice cream, and then you could flavor it with different combinations of fruits, and the possibilities are endless when you get to choose what you want to make for you and your family. And if you got kids, you know, you should supervise them while doing this, and, you know, let them select what they want to put in there, and then when they do that, they'll be more invested in, oh yeah, I made it. I put 2 strawberries, 3 blueberries, and some pineapple, and then they're going to want to eat it more. Because one thing we need to do is we need to get kids eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, and the Champion Juicer makes it possible. Alright, so check this out, man. This is like a really smooth consistency. Look at that. It's not like melting. Like if you did this in a food processor or blender, this would like turn brown and oxidize more. And the reason why this works is because when the Champion's running, it actually infuses some air and actually whiffs up the bananas. This also happened when I juiced, and you could see that by some of the foam that it created. But in the sense of when it processes the bananas, it makes it amazing. It's that same consistency that I used to get when my parents would take me to McDonald's, and I'd have the soft serve ice cream cones there. I think back then they were like 30 cents. They're a lot more now, and I don't recommend them because nowadays they had all kinds of different preservatives and, you know, corn syrup and all kind of unhealthy foods. This is the healthiest dessert beverage you will ever eat, and I guarantee it. And it's so delicious. No machine does it better. So my other favorite use of the blank plate in the Champion Juicer, besides just making the frozen fruit sorbets, aka ice creams, you know, with no cream, 100% fruit once again, is actually using something like peanuts. So you could get your standard Planters salted peanuts, put it through with the blank plate, and you're going to turn into the best peanut butter you ever made. Now, the Champion Juicer homogenizes the nuts into a butter better than any other juicer that I've ever tested, because once again, it does, you know, grind up, unlike other juices that kind of more crush, and actually adds some heat and friction to the nut butter so that it actually congeals and sticks together better. So I always encourage you guys to make your foods at home, because if you're buying peanut butter in the store, there's all kinds of additives and preservatives in there. And when you have your Champion Juicer, you could get your own roasted nuts. You could get your own raw peanuts, roast them yourself, and then put them through. Of course, you can also use raw nuts through the Champion to make your own nut butters. But be aware that the raw nuts don't have a high oil content unless you're using something like macadamia nuts or pili nuts. So it won't really congeal and stick together that well. So the thing you're going to want to do is you're going to take the mixture and then put it back through a couple more times, and the Champion will actually help break down the fibers in the nuts and help extract the oil so that it starts to stick better and better. Now, it will never really get like that true creamy consistency of the, you know, nut butters you buy in the store, because those are processed with really expensive high power equipment. This is going to be more of a crunchy style, you know, peanut butter, and it's actually quite good to actually dip in bananas or you know, spread on sandwiches or whatever you want to do. So yeah, the Champion Juicer, simply amazing. I use the commercial black model today, and I want to encourage you guys, if you are looking at buying a Champion Juicer, do it soon. You're going to get that 60th anniversary upgrade package with the large hole screen, the tomato screen, as well as that handy dandy cleaning brush, which is an amazing value, and I personally think Champion should continue to offer that in the future. Now, the Champion has been around since 1955, hasn't changed much, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. And once again, my opinion is the Champion juicers are built like tanks. And if there was a juicer wars, and juicer robots, the Champion would kick ass over all the other imported juicers in that sense. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, hey, please give me a thumbs up to let me know I'll have more videos in the future using the Champion, to do, my pickling. I make sauerkrauts. It's great for using the grinding attachment to do that. I've done so many other things with the Champion over the years, and it's still my tried and true method for especially using that blank plate. That's my favorite use of the Champion at this point in time. Anyways, also be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 400 episodes on comparing different juicers, dehydrators, and blenders so that you guys can eat more fruits and vegetables in your diet. Also be sure to click that subscribe button to be notified of new and upcoming episodes here on the DiscountJuicers.com channel. Finally, I want to encourage you guys to support me and my work by making your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. You guys allow me to continue to make these juicer videos to educate people about juicing and eating more fresh fruits and vegetables at home. So once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors. Another exciting episode for you. What we're going to do today is a good old juice-off comparison test between the Omega NC800 and the Solo Star 4, the latest